Друзья, добрый вечер.
Okay, dear friends, good evening to you, and thank you for being with us this late. Let's continue
Где мы делимся
the SOC Life Hacks session. Here we share our tips, thoughts, experience, how to provide protection.
нашей секции
In this next part of this session,
«Опыт и практика соков»
which is called Experience and Practice of SOCs,
про то, как они
our colleagues will share
эти задачи
real-life examples
в инфраструктурах. И
on the basis of their real-life infrastructures. And our first presenter is Sergey.
Всем привет. Мой доклад про опыт.
Hi,
Он как мы
Sergey Bnyatov.
или
This is how we created a hybrid makeshift SOC, and this is how we survived with this.
Меня зовут Бнятов Сергей, я делаю по Популе 9 ВБ, и с Offensive начинал, и мимикациями инфраструктуры.
I have worked for InfoSec for more than 9 years, and right now I have progressed to a SOC builder.
Мегамаркет, круассаны, молоко по утрам, это вот мы, 700
So,
заказов в день.
I actually work for a company that in 9 Russian cities
О том, с чего мы начинаем.
does deliveries of foodstuffs and so on.
Наша текущая модель, что у нас получилось.
So, the plan of this talk is what we did have, how we chose MSSP provider, what's the current model, so what's under the hood, and conclusion. At a certain point, we were at a
Гиперконвергентный минимум.
point with 3 different infrastructure, different landscapes, 3 different operations teams, and so on. 3 absolutely different operations teams. Different guys with different control verticals and so on. And we had only 3 months to start monitoring and resolving incidents.
Перед нами
So what were the problems
первая проблема, что кликер не
and
работает.
our challenges? The first challenge is with the slide advancer, of course.
Необходимо, как я и сказал, выстроить независимый процесс
So we had to create an independent response process.
независимых инфраструктур.
This was necessary because in these independent infrastructures, some MSSP providers were already there. So we had to take in the current landscape and try to marry all those different landscapes to one another.
MSSP провайдер
So we had to choose the MSSP provider.
была большая
because
задача.
Historically, this has not been done. And of course, this had to be done quickly.
Выбирал MSSP провайдера себе поднимать.
So have you ever chosen an MSSP provider? Yes.
Одну руку вижу.
Only one person. And who thinks it's simple or complicated? Complicated, yes.
Правда, люди из моей команды поднимают, остальные, видимо, стесняются. Ну да, значит, у нас
People from my team,
эту штуку.
you're not allowed to raise hands. So if you split this into 2 parts, you have the commercial requirements,
И возможности масштабирования.
contracts, NDAs, scalability, and so on. But we're not going to talk about this. We will talk about the technical requirements.
Как бы сами себе задали вопрос.
And in the technical requirements, we have asked ourselves the question, what do we want to see?
Порядка где-то 70 требований. При всем
There were about 70 requirements.
мы хотели бы передавать
For example,
на сторону MSSP и получать
we want
аналитикой.
actually to give IOCs to MSSP and get responses with analytics, and we want 24/7 service with line 1 and line 2, because we don't want just to respond. We need to influence the landscape.
Посидели, собрали,
We need to
так, посидеть и поковырять эти требования.
put together certain cases, certain incidents into a case, and
Такая мысль.
there is no such thing as a perfect SOC. In fact, this is the basic idea behind my presentation. And there is no such thing as a perfect MSSP provider.
Надо понимать, это нормально.
Because you've got to understand, this is normal. They're all imperfect.
Спустя 3 года ты это понимаешь и смотришь на это уже.
3 years later, you really understand this, but, well, not then. My tips to people who do this right now is that the analyst and MSSP provider very rarely understands the context. They don't understand which machines, they don't understand the scripts you're running, and so on and so forth. And if they just are allowed to block everything, your prod may fall down. So different analysts generate different reports on the same problem. It's normal again. It could be even an advantage, but you've got to know how to live with this.
Потому что фиг, кто тебе даст доступ к сырым логам, даже если ты очень сильно просишь.
Access to raw logs.
На самом деле мы
Very few people can do that, but we decided to do that, and actually we understood that it actually makes life a lot of easier for us, because analysts can go into the console and see what was actually happening.
правил кастомных, да, бывает так, что прям надо
Attention to detail and additional custom rules. So, of course, it's good that
там еще протестировать.
you can write a custom rule right now, which can start sending alerts right now.
Штука, но на самом деле
Writing one rule for 6 months is not good.
у вас есть компания.
A good SLA for you and for MSSP. This is routine, but it is very time intensive, and it's good to have a good SLA.
Где у нас есть внутренняя команда in-house team, и мы
So we have an MSSP and our in-house team.
у нас вышла, она дает
The synergy that we've generated, it really optimizes the processes and gives us opportunities for quick starts, because actually what we wanted.
сколотить внутреннее ядро корреляционных.
Because within 3 months, to create a core of correlation rules, it's, to put it mildly, unrealistic, right? If someone has done this in 3 months, tell me, I'll shake your hand. So you cannot do it in-house. So we needed a provider with experience, with
Потому что
internal processes, and we also needed to put our in-house team in order. Because whoever the provider is, we need to understand who calls who can do what, and which reports are then generated within the company.
плюсы и минусы у такой штуки.
So this hybrid
Ну,
has advantages and disadvantages. The pluses are
спектром информации,
that
бизнес-критичностью и
between them, these people have full spectrum of information, including business criticality, escalation, which units are the most vulnerable,
мы можем там сами писать свои понятные плейбуки.
and we can write our own playbooks and so on. MSSPs have 24/7 service. They have a process. They can build rules and so on. They can scale out, and of course, to do size in MSSP is much easier than in-house. And of course, MSSPs have broader experience. We're not their only customers.
С похожими проблемами.
Many our colleagues in retail have the same threats and same vulnerabilities, and MSSPs have some experience there.
Потому что вам
The disadvantages are processes again,
проводить координацию, эскалацию как и внутри, так и
because your escalation process needs to be generated
то
both in-house and on the MSSP side, and this kind of blurs the areas of responsibility. For example, we've had an incident and we have assigned a status to this incident, and MSSP just doesn't have a good automation. And
вот.
our controller actually says that your response time is shit, but our response time was okay, we just didn't report it. Integration with custom logs.
К сожалению,
We do our own development, and actually giving our custom logs and integrating our custom logs with MSSP provider, it's either expensive or doesn't make sense at all.
в которых вы все равно находитесь,
Also, the processing of custom logs.
не может. Ну,
You just can't walk away from the fact that you're in-house and they're not. So they're not processing your custom logs. And of course, there is a lot of managerial workload here. On the one hand, you need to grow your external expertise, and on the other hand, you have to manage the relationship with the MSSP provider. And of course, it costs
Если говорить
extra.
о разрезе линий, то у нас такая вот классика, да, для L1 у нас, по сути, это
So L1 are MSSPs.
практически все, что мы
We actually give them anything that they can absorb.
занимается
L2 is our SOC team, they do the response. And L3 is our IT, our InfoSec, anti-fraud, and so on and so forth.
Они нам помогают разбирать эти штуки. Дальше что? Окей, инциденты идут, что-то мы там делаем.
So incidents happen.
Надо еще
We resolve them according to our playbooks, but we need to escalate, we need to alert the sea level. This is why we have two different matrices. One for escalation,
дежурному инженеру
when you, for example, call up the duty engineer and it's Friday evening and they're drinking beer and they're on a barbecue and so on, and it's very hard to tell them that actually they need to throw it away and go back to the production system because everything is on fire and so on.
который работает над
So within this matrix, the analyst
Ну и, соответственно,
actually knows who to call, just not call everyone and the biggest boss in the company.
разный порядок уведомлений.
And of course, depending on the criticality, the escalation may be quite different. If something is very critical, you need to alert the product owner and so on, because the product owner can make a decision. The cost for resolving the incident,
приносит
are we going to resolve the incident, or maybe
к решению.
the resolution will be more expensive than the product itself?
Дальше
Of course, this is not the decision that engineers can take single-handedly.
у нас есть. У нас
Now,
есть
the typical playbooks.
типовые. Для типовых мы ничего не выдумывали.
So for typical playbooks, we have not thought anything else.
Есть
4 stages, just like anything.
где мы можем прыгать между разными этапами. Это вот когда
Investigation
с ночными
can really jump between different stages. This is where we start documenting, calling people in the night, and so on and so forth.
капотом, времени на самом деле мало.
Under the hood, I understand, I don't have the time.
SOC, наверное, сталкивается с
People who work for a SOC, I think
полы в сервере.
you have seen this, that you start doing security and then you you're wanted to repair the coffee machine and so on and so forth.
Делать это все руками, ну, нереально, либо надо
And
два универа
it's
женов себе набрать, чтобы
really,
раскидать. Ну, либо какие-то
you can't do it manually, you can't do it in-house. 2 companies of Junes,
классические
maybe, but it doesn't work as well. So you need to automate. What do you automate?
событий. Второе — управление активами. Третье — это маршрутизация.
Event source management, asset management,
Какой же сок?
incident routing flow, and matrix, because, well, SOC is matrix.
Какая проблема стояла?
Now, the former.
Информация
Our challenge was, in the very beginning, was that you populate
находиться
source information manually.
неоднородно, надо руками.
And the information host was also manual, and everything was very heterogeneous, and so on.
Для нас это очень важно. Мы как
People have mechanisms, but we didn't. Now we have it. So we sat down
решение
and looked at off-the-shelf solutions.
и, собственно,
Actually said no, we will make our own makeshift solution, and that makeshift solution now actually works in production. This is the aggregator. We pull data from ADR, from AD, from inside, from many, many places. So the analyst has a dashboard and looks at it from one point.
и ты в одном
So we used to have 3 infrastructures, now we have 4, and you have just one dashboard to look at all the incidents that have happened in all of them.
красивые гифки, как это работает. Но
So,
мы в тайминг
it is convenient, and I should have given you the beautiful GIFs, how it works, so you need to take me on my word, because we don't have the time. As a result, we have one asset management system, everything visible from one place, getting information from all aggregated sources, and again, you have just single point for matrix calculation. Incident routing,
detection, собственно, инциденты от
which starts from source detection and target detection.
инцидентов работы случайно.
MSSPs from the very beginning took the processing of incidents independently from the in-house analysts and so on and so forth.
Это нагрузка.
So we could not just manage all this workload in a transparent way, and
Их способов подсчета.
there were no ways to assess which analyst is underperforming and why. Maybe they're just ill.
Вот такой
Okay?
интересный флоу.
So,
Собственно,
we came up with this interesting flow.
портал нашего провайдера.
So we take the data from our provider's portal, we pull it to on-premises, and it works like a download.
Вот 3 инцидента в работе.
We have 3 analysts on the queue. One has 3 incidents, the other is processing 2 incidents, and the third has 0. So the new incident will go to the one with 0.
Да,
And
как бы он тебя уведомляет о том, что на тебя назначено.
who actually notifies you that you're assigned is a TG alerter bot.
Чтобы это делать. Все это дело идет там в тикетницу, в Jira, автоматически
All this is
и пишется
copied to Jira for a ticket repository.
административный бот, который
And there is an administrative bot that manages the queue and then calculates all the metrics.
что у нас тут, ты всегда можешь это дело показать, посмотреть.
And you can always show all the metrics and all the stats to CISO.
Там есть
This is how it
ссылка на него.
this is how it works.
Назначился. И
The description of the incident, the link to the incident, who works with the incident, and the status of the incident can be changed by the bot himself.
административный бот, собственно, там куча
The
функций,
admin bot.
которые мы написали.
You can. We have written a lot of preset functions. For example, I want a week-long statistics for the response time for a specific analyst or for the entire team.
Многие, я думаю, об этом сталкивались. Мы такие поняли, что так,
Well, when Telegram was being disrupted,
на чат пора переезжать. И, собственно, написали
we decided that this is too important to us, and now we have created a duplicate bot which works in the corporate chat.
управление, но
It doesn't have some of the functions,
падают туда и работают, и мы прям это
management functions, but the notifications actually work in sync with Telegram. Telegram is the messaging app, of course.
в мессенджере, там, в телеге, они всегда нам доступны, видны и так
The outcomes are visible in the Corp Messenger, in Telegram, and so on.
возьмут
And
тебе беспристрастно.
right now, the analyst just cannot decline starting processing an incident if they are on the queue. And right now, there is transparency.
Типа такое время.
And why have we responded slowly yesterday, and so on and so forth. Runbooks, playbooks, and playbooks as code. Again, this is a long story, normally.
6 пережили.
I think we reincarnated playbooks 6 times or more.
Сочинений, где там куча ветвлений, делай это, делай то, вроде все надо.
A lot of people, when they wrote playbooks, they started with those novels with different branches and so on and so forth,
Увидел вот
and it doesn't work.
делай раз, два, три.
There should be a very short manual. You see this, you do A, B, and C. And if you work with this case, for example,
С большим в виде процесса. Вот тебе полный перечень, что
with this process,
сделать.
this is the full list of what you need to do. And playbook as code, again,
Ребята делают руками,
it's automated playbook,
и переиспользовать в других плейбуках. Собственно,
which can be reused from one playbook to another.
что в итоге? Скомбинировали 3 подхода, получаем
As a result, we combine 3 approaches. We get standardization, automation of routine.
еще и в
This is playbook as code, and it can be reused in SOAR, and so on and so forth. If you have written a code which works once, you don't need to rewrite it 10 times if you want 10 playbooks to do this. And of course, you still are flexible.
не надо заморачиваться.
You don't have to rewrite all the different manuals and instructions. So you're flexible on the one hand and scalable on the other.
Значит, продуктовые инциденты — это наши личные отдельные
Product incidents.
много команд
Well,
разработки.
this is our very specific pain because we have a lot of development teams, and
Можно как это
if you deep dive into it, you will look like this cat, okay?
с продуктовым
I mean,
много проблем.
burnout.
Не везде есть стандартизация.
Product-specific incidents are a problem because not all products have standardized logs, and not everyone documents their code and documents their scripts and so on.
Буду,
This is the full list of challenges. I will not read them out to you.
Маленькими кирпичиками, скажем.
But it can be resolved with those small bricklaying.
Пришли, договорились.
If you don't know who to call, we need to document the AOR.
Подключается на звонок ИРТ.
And if we can't call here, we have the next number, and so on. And whether it's Easter, whether it's PH days, they need to respond.
Если мы уже столкнулись с какой-то проблемой и понимаем,
Some standard playbooks or playbook components, we fix this, we document this, and we reuse in the next playbook.
много, но если планово работаем,
So, there are a lot of challenges, but if you work in a well-planned manner, you get much less chaos,
ну и как бы
and you can respond in a faster way. And when you come to yet another team and you tell them that we need to do it in a new way, you need to give them the example that all the other teams have already shifted.
если бы подходил к продуктам. Продуктовые инциденты или
What would I do now?
архитектуру закладывать. То есть
You need to create an architecture for product-specific cases.
потом жизнь
It will make your life much easier afterwards. A product-based incident is the same as playbook, and within this model, it does not create a difficulty.
дотянули
So
устранение
once you have identified the root causes of the incident, you can automate this into a new playbook. And even though this automation is makeshift, this code will be crooked and so on and so forth. If it generates value, use it now and just buy time to maybe improve it later. Our metrics today
источник,
are EDR coverage,
это средний
SOC sources coverage,
время containment,
mean time to reaction, mean time to contain,
порты, time
LLE time to report, and time to task.
когда у нас нетиповое
This is the time it takes us to write a report when this is a typical incident,
случился. В целом статистику мы собираем.
and creating the task. And of course, the statistics.
Самих инцидентов. Вот изначально мы начинали с того, что у нас по сути
How to categorize incidents.
инциденты.
At first, we had just two categories, the manual incidents and MSSP incidents. And there were so many manuals
Сложно.
that it was absolutely difficult, sometimes impossible to understand what the root cause was.
И
So we decided to introduce more granularity on this, and now we have leaks, internal leaks, external leaks, MSSP, phishing, IT help, and so on.
бывает. В общем, категория, по сути, это маршрут и смысл инцидента. Если это
Create categories.
много шума,
If you don't create categories, you have a lot of noise, and analysts just don't understand how to resolve them.
заканчивать буду. Очень много как бы всего хотел сказать. Времени мало
I understand I need to wrap up.
вышло, но
I want to say much more than I have time for.
сейчас
So,
мне опять предложили
what would I advise myself
вот.
if I were offered it now? First of all, don't go for it.
Просто долго, сложно.
Because I thought it was easy to build a SOC. No, it is difficult, it is painful, and it doesn't always pay well.
Делал сразу так.
But I would build processes in an automation-friendly way, without a lot of manual work.
Второе,
That's what I would do.
про то, что
The second thing I would do,
процесс, и он теперь работает, живет, и все классно.
you just can't forget about I write a process and it works from here and forever. No, it will change very quickly and you will have to rewrite this. And we now only have the understanding that all the processes need reincarnation from time to time.
Важно не меньше.
Team development.
SOC это люди.
It's no less important than an SLA. SOC means people. If you don't have people, you don't have a SOC. This is the basic idea, because
А именно люди.
if you have a team but you don't have people, actually,
Где бы его
that doesn't make sense.
круто, если
How to train on incidents?
потому что
Please allow some time for exercises. Especially on your real system, because
блокируются.
you find a lot of different things with unauthorized blockages of accounts and DDoS and so on and so forth. And during the exercises, you can actually try to patch this up
себе
and delegate. of course, this is yet another tip. Trying to do all by yourself, it doesn't mean that you're a hero. Doesn't mean that you're a fool. If you can buy a product, buy a product. If you can outsource, outsource. And for me, a SOC is not a sprint. It's a marathon, and it's a marathon that has not ended yet.
Все впихнуть там в один квартал, сделать
Don't even try to promise to do it in 1 quarter.
и на многие
Do what you can within 1 quarter, but then you grow, and then you continue changing, and you are cool-headed about this.
пробегусь технологическую
Just very quickly, what do we want to see within a couple of years? Our own technological basis, build engineering capacity. A SOC doesn't work about this. Your automation will just not work.
выйти там к
And what we also want to see is a good balancing act between development and operations.
рекламы. Кому будет интересно,
That's all from me. This is my self-advert of my Telegram channel, how to create an in-house SOC.
готов ответить.
That's now really all from me. Thank you. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Спасибо, Сергей.
Thanks, Sergey.
Друзья, я напоминаю то, что
I will remind you, friends,
вопрос
that you will get a
книгу
book
нашего партнера из
from Peter Publishers.
по компьютерной.
Of course, the book will be dedicated to info security. And your questions, please. So the book will go to the one who asks the best question.
Добрый день. Вопрос
Hi.
по автоматизации, получается, события, конкретно по
When you automate an event, how do you distribute events among analysts?
когда
Because some incidents are interconnected, and when different incidents go to different analysts, if they are interconnected, those analysts won't know this.
Предлагаем и планируем связывать
Well,
кейсы.
we connect cases through SOAR,
Отправляют одно и то же.
but my understanding is that you're not asking about SOAR. Well, the same incident, well, not the same incident, but connected incidents when they go to different analysts, how do you prevent that? Because if you don't,
ну, разные аналитики,
different analysts will not understand that they are looking at the same case.
Как мы эту штуку решали?
Well, that's a problem, yes. How we dealt with it?
Была какая-то история, которая там,
If it's a typical story,
ну, условно говоря, время
which actually takes you 5 minutes,
логикой этого переназначения
it doesn't make sense to overcomplicate the logic.
сильно,
If it's happening within 1 day persistently,
сыпятся инциденты.
so there is a source that connected to provider, and all the incidents, they are kind of being bombarded. And we are trying to respond, but it won't stop. Well, first of all, you need to filter out all the
Присылают.
false positives,
Были даже такие времена,
because there may be some noise in the traffic.
ну, то есть вот приходит, там, не знаю, по метре, вот
And
делает один человек сегодня смену. Вот так.
in some cases, of course, we would put all those incidents, according to Mitre, to one person. Next question, please. Hello, and thanks for the talk.
IT-службы, ведь некоторые для выполнения
So what's your relationship with the IT service?
IT-службу,
Because sometimes you would need
там заняты у них
an engagement from IT service to reach your matrix, and they have their own, and they're not the same as yours.
короткие. Очень сложно, очень долго.
I have a short and a long answer. The long answer I wouldn't tell you. The short answer, it's a problem, and it takes a lot of time.
Бывает,
It doesn't work through administrative resource.
у нас нет цели вас замучить. Мы просто
Sometimes it just pays to go and say and beg, "Hey guys, we don't want to make your life more difficult. Please help."
приходишь, что
Of course, they have their own objectives, and you come to them with a 20-minute problem, but it turns out to be a 2-day problem.
вот. Но в большой
So it is painful.
говорит мой коллега, корпоративный налог.
In a large company, as one of my colleagues says, this is a corporate tax that you have to pay.
Спасибо за доклад.
Yes.
Такой вопрос.
Thanks for the talk.
Вам поступила вот такая же задачка, только у вас нету никакого провайдера, и фактически вам надо сделать такой же сок, только внутренним.
What if you get a similar task, but you don't have an MSSP provider? What would you demand from your bosses? I would demand a lot of money. If you have a blank check
есть открытые,
and the boss says, okay, you have open hiring,
наверное, можно
you have some time to put together a team,
по яму или построить самолет.
okay, I would agree to it actually. But if they are giving you a stick and saying that you need to dig a big pit now,
Делаем сок. Фактически,
we are making a SOC for students, for example, and we just don't have an external provider.
Это,
Well, then I don't have a good answer for you because
наверное, бесплатно.
if people work, they tend to do it for money for some strange reason.
Дадим возможность задать вопрос.
Okay?
Да, добрый день.
Yes.
Меня зовут Полина.
I'm Polina,
Patio Retail.
and I work for Patio Retail. We're also building our own SOC.
Выстраивание
And our problem is
вы говорили. То есть технология
building the processes that you've talked about. Technology is one thing and people are another, but it's all put together by processes, right?
процессов,
Can you give a couple of tips how to build processes within this?
вроде как процесс,
We've run into this problem.
но он взаимосвязан.
It looks like we understand the process, but it's connected to other processes inside the SOC, and how to marry those processes. This is an important pain to address.
У нас
Well, I'll start answering with the end.
сквозные процессы. Если,
We have end-to-end processes.
по сути,
At first, I didn't even understand what this is. But if you really have an end-to-end process, your entry point can integrate with anything else in the company.
там нужен антифрод, нужна
For example, if you understand that you need anti-fraud within a SOC process, you know how to integrate this process. It doesn't always work perfectly,
наверное, вот, как бы, если
but
я держал парадигму, что у тебя, как бы, у тебя есть точки входа и выхода в разных местах.
you have entry points and exit points in different places. And if at a certain moment
Чтобы тебе это
you want to go from A to B, this should not result in the change of the entire architecture of all the processes. So you need to have end-to-end processes.
я бы дробил вот на кирпичики и по
And
возможности
I would
все, что можно
turn all the processes into those bricks that can be automated. If you can automate it, automate it.
с чего начинать. Типа, а как, а что? Но
There will be a problem starting this.
как бы так целенаправленно.
But if you try to beat this drum,
В целом становится плюс-минус.
I think you will get to the end and the picture will be more or less clear. Thank you, Sergey.
Пожалуйста, лучший вопрос.
Sergey, can you choose the best question?
Так, блин, на самом деле вопрос забавный
Well,
был про бесплатный сок.
You asked a great question about a SOC for free.
Что молодому человеку можно
I think it would be very good for a young man who works for one of your SOCs. So I think the book just has hit the fan.